This morning you heard a lot about AI, what is coming, what is the future, what are the concerns, what should we do, how should we do it, and all that. Now this session is all about 3 executives working in major company doing it every day. So in our preparation, I said, tell them exactly what you do, how you do it, and all the good thing and all the difficult things, so that you will be inspired to step onto the journey. And they will also share with you, if you're interested in getting into this kind of position, right, what do you have to do? So we're getting it really real, right? With that said, instead of me doing introduction of each of them, because you have their bio, we do the introduction this way. Each of them will answer 3 questions that I have for them, which we already sent to each other before. So each of them will tell you what are their expected output and outcome of their job responsibility. Okay? So they get paid for what they're going to tell you, what they're supposed to deliver to their company. Then another question is, what gets them excited about their job? Why do they get up and go to work? And then, of course, what keeps them up at night? They can't sleep because they worry. So they get really real, okay? So, Christina, why don't you start? And by the way, Christina is Morgan Stanley, one of the company that I mentioned to her we had to get to know each other because that company changed my life. And I'll share with her my story.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As Lucy said, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my job. So I lead AI, machine learning, and knowledge management at Morgan Stanley, especially for wealth management. But we're also establishing strategies and roadmaps and implementation platforms for firm-wide. So I'm on the hook for that. What's so exciting about it? Because, being a trailblazer, how could it not be exciting, right? So I have to say we're a trailblazer. And also I put myself at the thought leader category too, right? It's not just about I deliver one use case to the business and hey, this is great, and we move on. It is not about that. This is about what you have learned, what you have built, and then how do you amplify it? So if 2022 was a year, Morgan Stanley is a front runner with AI and machine learning. 2022, we spent a lot of time doing experiment. 2023, we actually deliver business solutions to business and our financial advisors. And 2024 and beyond is about scaling. I have to amplify whatever we have built to be able to leverage by the different lines of business and firm-wide. So I don't lose sleep. I have to be honest with you. I'm very optimistic about AI and what AI could do. We have really good teams. We do a lot of reading, research, brainstorming, experiment. So I wouldn't even say it worries me. What keeps me up, not necessarily losing my sleep, is about the field is evolving and changing so quickly. So the strategy that we put out today looks very good, and we're focusing on it. And then tomorrow, or even today afternoon, you're going to hear something else is coming out. So do you change your strategy? Do you refocus? So we need to be constantly balancing that. So that's it. Well.
Yeah. Hey everyone, can you hear me? Awesome.
So Jia is from Microsoft. As we all know, Microsoft is a big deal right now, right? The Fortune magazine, this issue, just have the CEO on the cover and say, the company is on top. So let's find out how on top it is.
Thanks, Lucy. It's an honor to be here. Thanks, John, for the invite, and thanks, Francis, for being my mentor for a couple years, and really appreciate this opportunity. So yeah, as a senior product manager at Microsoft, my responsibility involves transforming and enhancing digital employee experiences at Microsoft. So you can think of me as somebody who's driving the adoption of the cutting-edge technologies, including AI, to our employees, to help our employees benefit from these technologies, to empower them to do more with less. So the expected outcome of my work really is to create those tangible impact in our workplace, and also set a very good example to our partners to see how Microsoft uses their products and services that they develop to help their own employees. So we can tell our stories to our partners and to get more buy-ins from the industry. And so what excites me, of course, is really the impact that I'm driving across different teams. For example, I drive around thousands of hours of reduction for our employees on a quarterly basis. And those directly transition into dollars that we save for the business. And another thing I would say, just on top of that kind of what keeps me up at night, is really how we as models think about how we can develop applications with AI, and how we can help our partners and customers adopt AI in a more responsible way, right? So I guess other panelists also touch on this, like about the risks and how can we ensure the safety in our products to make sure we don't harm other businesses. So that really make me not worry, but more kind of have this hat or responsibility on my shoulder.
Good job, Sabrina. Sabrina is from Pfizer, right? One of the major pharmaceutical company, and thank God we have Pfizer, right?
Thank you.
My God, right? All the vaccine coming from the company, so they are at the forefront of saving lives.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as you can see in my job title, I wear two hats at Pfizer. One side of this is my responsible AI responsibilities, where I lead a multifunctional team to partner with our legal and compliance department in order to make sure we do not just have corporation policy and principle to say we will do responsible AI, but we really have that in the workflow directly to enable Pfizer AI creation at the highest standard. Right? We are a highly regulated industry. That's what we are used to. But in the new world of AI, a lot of this are now emerging AI standards. As one of the questions previously asked, is exactly what's lacking here. So as industrial leader, we are responsible for not only to put in responsible AI innovation in place ourselves, but also set it as industrial standard. And that's what my second hat is about, external innovation. So we engage a lot of these public-private partnerships with, for example, the NIST AI Safety Consortium, where our CEO is now sitting at. And we also work across the board with FDA, EMA, and all the authority, the regulators out there to make sure our points of view were crossed when it comes to setting AI standards for our industry. So these are what make me very excited about my job now, because just think about this, how many times in your lifetime are you able to set a standards for the industry, right? And this is a time we're at right now. It's really not up to the regulators to tell us what to do, but regulators are asking us, how do you want us to regulate AI now? And what kind of standards should we really set for ourselves? So every day in and every day out, my job is to make sure that we know how to answer that question very well for ourselves, to incubate the best practice, and then push it out there to make sure we have that right standard setting up. And that also brings me to what keeps me up at night, because as you know, Gen AI is coming up. Everybody's talking about it. We just go through a very condensed hype cycles. Usually it takes 10 years to complete. Now it has been completed almost in the the past 2 years, right, since the introduction of ChatGPT to now, just 2 years, but we have seen that going through the cycle. So now it's almost like we are saying that we are over that height, we are going to reality. We have to make this work, business as usual, not just POC, not just proof of concept anymore. So how do we do that? That's also the questions that I need to answer. And it's not just risk management. If I think of myself as just doing AI risk management, then we are not driving innovation ahead. So what really, my job, the key functions as I see myself is to figure out what's that fine line between positive and negative risks. Right? It might be counterintuitive, that what's positive risk, but there are risks that if you don't take, you will not enable innovations. Right? They say the biggest risk now in Gen AI is not enable Gen AI, but if you look at the recent survey of IT, a Fortune 1000 company, 98% of the company has paused it in one way or another. So we are proud to say that Pfizer hasn't paused it, but we figure out a way to go forward.
So for the audience, I did prepare some questions ahead of time, and they did take a look at those questions and then give me their preference. All right, so you might not hear them answer every single question. I want to do that also to free up some time so that allow more questions from the audience to make it more interactive, especially this is the last one. Some of you might have questions that you really want to voice and then hear opinion, right? So if I pick people to answer certain questions, it's not because I'm biased. This is already well planned, okay?
Transparency.
Yeah, right? I don't want people to second guess why Lucy's doing it this way. So, Christine, let's get to you because I was going to ask Sabrina about Pfizer, and she did such a good job about the risk and all that. So let's just go to you right now. You mentioned that Morgan Stanley had already started rolling out 2002, 2003, 2004. So from where you sit, what is the highlight in 2024?
Yeah, 2024 is about scaling, right? At least for us. So we know how to do the individual use cases. We have practiced it. Some of those use cases are easier to do. Some actually are more involving. However, most of those, it's not about you hook up with the LLM. It's actually the easiest part is to hook up with a large language model, right? And send a bunch of your content or your prompts and get the answer back. That's the easiest part. The hardest part is actually how do you establish a consistent way to measure and evaluate and get a feedback and then continuously improve and then also continuously monitoring. This is actually taking the rest of 98% of your time to actually do it. And also, do you want each line of business or application to just establish their own metrics of success? Probably not, right? Because there's a lot of learning and failures and relearning of that. So you want to give people a good guidelines, frameworks, and even platform for them to be able to do it so they can focus on what they want to accomplish instead of everyone trying to figure out how to deal with a RAG, how to set up a vector database, right? Or how to improve their search, because most of the problem solving is actually involved in those, right? So that's what we're trying to do. How do we, as a center of excellence or center of enablement, how do we put all this learning together, building up a whole ecosystem so we can give it to different application teams to implement their Gen AI application that's suitable for their business, right? And also, one big part of the center of enablement is also education, right? We need to educate our people. Not everyone has all the time, like us, talk about this or spending time reading about it. But so for example, we have training materials, 101 of this, 102 of that, right? So give people a more how do you say customized set of education videos and articles for them to get into it.
we happened to have lunch together just to get ready, and even just that conversation was so illuminating. And I think I know a lot about AI, but listening to them, I learned so much. So out of that, I'm going to ask Jia a question, because these two colleagues, they've been working for major industry, and they're comparing Microsoft with other technology company, and they say, you do have one advantage. You understand corporation, you understand enterprises, not like some of the other that only deal with
we
customer
didn't
data.
know.
Right? So I do want to ask Jaya, from that standpoint, as a Microsoft, adopting AI, helping other corporations, what do you see are the opportunities, and what do you see are the risks by doing a good job, not making your company a good company, but also how do you do well by doing good, right? Because we heard a lot about moving forward, our society has to be fair and all that. So how are you helping company that you support to meet that goal?
Yeah, so recently in May, Microsoft and LinkedIn together published this report called 2024 Work Trend Index Report. So there are a lot of great opportunities and risks highlighted in this report. I'll just highlight a few there. So the first opportunity, as Christine just mentioned about kind of its AI has been adopted by industries and by enterprises, but this year is the year of scalability. So the opportunities we see in the same field, which is how can we scale up AI adoption? How can we help the enterprises to really see the real benefit from AI? So the first opportunity really, I think we talked about this, how can we make sure we develop, we implement and drive adoption of AI in a more responsible way? By that, our panelists covered earlier in terms of how can we remove bias, how can we make sure we include everybody into this AI adoption. To your point, Lucy, how can we make sure we do this right? By right, we really mean like we need to hear different voices, different feedback, from different backgrounds. Include women, include minorities, include people with disabilities, right? Because again, like if we don't have them to adopt AI, we never know how AI will either benefit them or like even create more barriers for them, right? So that's really I think from, if you think of work backwards to your customers or to your employees, we should really think about how can we include as many aspects of the adopters as possible. That's number one. And number two is scale up, how to scale up. Training, education, I think Christine also mentioned, right? There's a great opportunity for almost every company to do, which is to set up this center of excellence. As Microsoft, we have that. Like I'm a member of this Center of Excellence, or COE, right? So what we do really is to speak up and encourage our employees to take our trainings and go to our websites where we have plenty of great resources for them to leverage. And even we do tailored trainings to specific roles and responsibilities for experts or engineers and product managers, product designers to leverage to really see how they can specifically apply the learnings from those courses into what they do on a daily basis. So really prioritize the training in your company is really the great opportunity we see. And the other thing is, I talked about how can we include people. All of those, not all, but most of the decisions are made by our senior leaders in the company, right? So you won't see the impact from AI unless you have your leaders enlisted in this initiative, right? So how can we take this top-down and bottom-up approach to make sure everyone is bought in, to make sure we allocate time for our employees, for our customers to take time to catch up? Because again, according to this report, there's this data highlight I just want to quickly mention here. 76% of knowledge workers have adopted AI by far, Gen AI by far. So we don't have that much opportunity to catch up there, right? So only like 34% left So hopefully, 24% left there. So hopefully we're not those 24 that are left behind, right? So we really need to catch up to make sure, think about how we can scale up the AI adoption in our job functionalities, in our company, and even help our customers and partners to scale up their AI adoption.
So now, Sabrina, I have a question for you. You mentioned a lot about already, right? You have to manage risk, but at the same time accelerate innovation. Those two may be in conflict, but you have to deal with it, and all the partners you have to work with and all that. So share with the audience, from your perspective, how AI adoption has beginning to change the organization culture of your company. I think culture is the most important thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Without changing the culture, we're not going to succeed. But culture is all about people. So what is Pfizer doing?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, certainly on point here. Culture is the most important thing we need when it comes to AI adoption and responsible AI adoption. So a lot of what we do is, first of all, we have the top-down mandates, right? So AI is a must-have now as our digital strategy across the pipeline, not just for drug discovery, but for clinical development, for manufacturing, even for HR, and also for engaging HCP, that's healthcare professionals and patients. We touch 1.5 billion patients and health consumers every year at Pfizer, right? So that includes our vaccination medicine, so that also includes our now digital health solutions that we are putting together with the health systems. So with that said, we have a lot of opportunity to help innovation to go into the hands of patients, but on the other hand, we have a lot of responsibilities. So how do we train every one of us to become responsible AI champions is very important. And with that said, right, so we have to put in a lot of this AI adoption program, including this AI champion program that we designed for ourselves. Not just to have them take courses, we certainly have a lot of courses also in AI Academy, but also to really find out who are those on the ground that will have the incentive to work with us. We are Pfizer Digital, by the way, so we serve all the other functions from our horizontal pillar. So we have R&D, we have commercial, we have other enabling functions, right? So we go in to find out for each business function, who are those people on the ground running this will be our innovation champion, right? And then we work with them directly to make sure we enable them with tools and with the right education and with the right cultural behavioral change program to make that happen. So then they go back to influence their colleagues in their business functions. And so for us, it's an important part of the whole responsible AI adoption program that we have. And we also create material for external audience education. If you go back to search us on podcasts, we now have a podcast called Science Will Win. This is something that just won the Tribeca X Award. That's like a South by Southwest in New York now. So it was just announced last week. We are very proud of that effort as well. We are helping also to influence our external general public reception on this.
It's amazing when you get down to what each company is doing, right? What needs to change. I mean, can you imagine you go to work every day and think about being responsible for AI? Like, you couldn't even figure out what AI is, and then how do you say, like, okay, is this responsible? Like, what is the measurement and all that?
Yeah.
You really have to ask those questions and then learn and then figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is also people talk about critical thinking is so important these days because it's not about the answer, it's about the question, right? There are more questions than answer. And it's people like yourself that have to come up with the question to get the organization to work together, and then maybe one day we have the answer. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I just want to quickly touch on that. So I forgot to mention there was one risk really I want to touch on is this, I think the other panelists also touched on this earlier, which is the job displacement by AI, right? This kind of concern about, I think there was a lady asking this question from the back there, like, well, I don't want to be the first wave of the folks that lose job because of AI. Really, as you pointed out, like as even NVIDIA CEO, I think earlier this year at a summit, saying that the next generations, coding is not a vital skill for them to learn anymore. Yeah, so now like we really need to think, to your point, what are the next set of skills for our children or even our grandchildren to learn, to really think, be adapted to this new world of AI. I think critical thinking probably is one of the skills they need to learn, and again, probably management, how to manage the AI systems even, right? And also prompt engineering, as you said, it's kind of how you prompt the AI systems to give you the answers that you're looking for. And then the other thing I would say really is the relationship building, just like this, right? We get people together and build relationship with each other, network with real humans. Because again, someone also touched on this earlier about emotional intelligence, which really I think AI still lack of that intelligence at this point. So we really, as humans, should leverage this opportunity to really build relationship with humans and build our network and learn from each other to make sure that we don't fall behind.
And now come to the final question. The final question, all of them want to say something. And rightfully so, because the last question I had for them was, future of work with AI. Is it suitable for women? If so, what do women have to do to step into that journey, gain the skill, and sit at this chair to share the knowledge, right? So each of them have experience how each of them from their last job went into this job, adopting AI, and now they're also hiring people and so on and so forth. So you will hear from each of them some essence of what is important to get a position in the future. Okay? So, Christina, why don't you go first?
Sure. I think absolutely women can get into AI field. I actually think it's probably AI gave us a better platform for us to get into than before, right? AI itself, to me, is elevating or lower some of the play field, right? You don't need to exactly know that SQL syntax to get what you need or to move the data, to analyze the data. As long as you have the critical thinking skill, and you also are patient, right? And you also pay attention to details. We need a lot of data engineers, right? For any machine learning or AI to work, data is a key, right? So data engineers, data analysis needs to be done, identify all the feature engineerings and all that. Nothing is preventing women to get our hands on. Second, I also feel, you mentioned prompt engineering. This is just using language to tell the AI or the large language model what you want it to do and how you want it to do and what type of outcome you want it to produce, right? And this one is actually easy, right? You don't need to know specific language, or programming language. However, you need to know business logics, and some of the flows. You need to have domain expertise to actually coax the large language model to give you what you want, right? The other things, for the industry I'm in, for all the AI solutions we're trying to produce, we're getting so many legal compliance and risk. People coming to us needs to understand what we're building, and they're building, corresponding control systems, control and governance to guard the AI solution. So I actually think there were more opportunities in legal compliance and risk. There will be more hiring. And also in my own view, with where we are, obviously you can use GitHub Copilot to write code or help you write some code. Microsoft Office Copilot will give you a suite of productivity tools. That actually, I think, is going to help some of the immigrants like me, not a native, English writer. It's going to help me write better and write in a very, condensed time frame. So I actually think it's going to help us. So do not be afraid of it. Get to know some of the basics. And ChatGPT is out there, it's free. Sign up and see what you can do with it. There's also ChatGPT, you can create GPTs and see what you can create out of it. Same thing with Copilot Studio. If you're on Microsoft Azure Cloud, I'm doing your advertising.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are a lot of.
It's actually AI or generative AI is making some of the AI solutions very, very accessible to us. You actually don't need to be a PhD, write all the models to get your hands on. It's out there. Just experimenting with it, get an understanding of what it is, and there's no myth. We can use it. So that's my advice. Just get your hands on it.
Yeah, I'm with Christine on this one. I think women are going to be put in a more advantageous position when it comes to the use of AI. Yeah, just think about that. We often, in healthcare and life science domain, we often say the doctor that will be replaced are only the doctor who do not use AI together. And who else will be in a better position to collaborate, to know, who knows better what inclusion means, right? So usually in the workforce, I will say women are usually more open-minded in that sense. I'm not saying men is not good at that, but yeah, but when it comes to collaboration, right, and working with computer is a kind of collaboration that I do see that there is advantage here. And in the future, also all these tools are going to be democratized for individuals in a company. My own PhD in computer science now can be done in one line of code in GPT, right? Yeah. Summarize your meetings and tell me what the decision points you made, right? That's my PhD thesis. That's my 4 years of work. But now you just ask GPT Copilot to summarize the meetings for you, right? And everyone can do that. It democratizes it for you. So learn it and then be the champion in your own work and being there when it all happens. In my own function now, my responsible AI Peter, actually when I look across the meeting room, all of them are women. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what is the one attribute like that you see that are really important for your type of work, and then why women will stand out? I mean, again, not men won't, right? But in the past, women may not stand out as much, but now because of this one attribute is so needed, women will stand out as well. What will that be?
Yeah, maybe I can start.
Yeah.
Women are really responsible in terms of adopting technologies, and as Christine touched on, there will be jobs open up for compliance, security, privacy, and because again, privacy breach is another risk that we have seen in AI. That's why Microsoft now spend a lot of engineering time on addressing security and privacy issues across the board for all of our products that we develop, including Microsoft 365 Copilot, just so that we can make sure we develop our products responsibly and safely and reliably.
So I think after listening to these three ladies, many of you want to get into AI project. Am I right? So raise your hand when you have a question. We have almost 20 minutes, right, for you to ask questions and learn. But do ask one question at a time. If you have more questions, sit down, let other people go, and then you can ask again. All right? So I already see one hand. Over there. Ray? Over, okay.
Hi, it's me again. So you guys are all in sort of global companies, and some of you guys in very highly regulated areas. And you talked about how you see potential in utilizing AI for compliance and security and all of those other areas. I'm wondering, especially because regulation differs from country to country and region to region. EU has very strict, like sort of, the GDP regulations versus like the US HIPAA. So I'm wondering, like, how do you see AI being utilized so that it could not only like adhere to the letter of the laws, right, and the regulations, but as responsible corporations, that it also adheres to the spirit of the law, right, which is a little different.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
let me take a crack at this, right? So we actually don't just say, hey, because the law wants us to do this, so we'll do it. We actually are ahead of, our legal and compliance are actually thinking ahead of time, working with us on all the possible potential problems we could have. So when we evaluate a potential use case to be prioritized, right? So you can do all your experiment you want. But when we decided this one moves forward for production versus that one not, there's a metrics of all the weights we put in. And one of the weights is what is the risk, what we need to put, the controls and governance. We wouldn't take the hardest one, right? So if you look at what Morgan Stanley has done, our use cases are for internal, and we also want to make sure whatever we implemented now is actually having humans check it off, review it, okay it, and move forward to next stage. So, absolutely it's being considered. We can't just say, hey, this is great technology. Everyone is excited about it, so we're going to roll it out. Not even client facing yet.
Yeah, last one on that. I really also want to go back to kind of what the topic we're talking about today, as Christine was alluding to, this authentic inclusion. Again, in her book, Authentic Inclusion Drives Disruptive Innovation, Frances West actually emphasizes on this importance of combining human thinking and decision science technologies to drive innovations for all segments across the society. Because that human-centered approach will absolutely make sure that whatever technology that we develop will be ahead of regulations, be ahead of laws. And so again, another thing that we at Microsoft talk a lot about, how can we make sure we focus on morality, right? How can we develop things that are not just by the letters, but above the letters, right? To make sure that we're developing things that are right. Make sure we develop the process is also right. Who we include, who we make sure we have got insights and feedback from. So that's really important. The process, we think, is more important than the outcome or the speed that we are driving.
Yeah, I might just add a little bit on top of that to add this quote from Peter Drucker, the management guru. He said that you cannot manage what you cannot measure, right? So a lot of what we do is really to translate that risk into some measurable measure, so we know how to control it to start with, right? So for regulator, that's what they want as well. So we are certainly still at the beginning phase of this. I think, Francis earlier put it, we are still in the first innings of this, right? So we are defining that standards as we go, but we need to make sure we have the best practice in place to help us measure anything, not just risk, also the value, right? So when we are trying to enable the use case, like what Christine say, we have very concrete measurement here to say we can drive forward the innovation in terms of value, while we start with the lower risk category to gradually learn how do we do it and then start scale this up as business as usual. Yeah.
So one thing I hear from all of you to address that question really is, instead of going country by country, reading the document, complying to the regulation, and then meeting them. And different country at different level of compliance. You start with the company and say, what is the right thing to do? How should we manage ourselves? What is the governance like? And then you go globally that way. And then only then you look at the regulations and say, are we meeting it?
Yeah,
Right?
and the
And then you
laws.
give a fairness to everything, everywhere you operate. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes, and also the laws are very vague
Yeah.
by nature, right? It gave you the guidance, but how you actually do it, there's no definition. So we have to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other question? Okay, good. We have few hands. So,
Hi there, my name is Claire Cito. So since this whole conference is about inclusion, one of the things I want to ask the panel about, like women, how can, I feel very given to that, anyone can have an impact on AI. So rather than the whole thing about, how will my job be disrupted, how will they give it, so you augment and you try to lead in, so to speak. But one of the things that I am, so specifically, I'm trying to sort of professionalize. I've been in graphic design. I study as an architect, so I have a very broad range of abilities. However, also being a mother and also having sort of really left the full paid workplace for some number of years, I'm coming back and my daughter's in high school and she doesn't really need me, and I'm like, well, where do I fit in this? How can I give my set of skills to lean in as where I've been as a mother, as a Asian American woman, as a woman who's got a lot of different skills, but it's hard to kind of figure out where do I fit in? How can I, create the bigger picture, ask the bigger questions, work on important things where my skills can really help.
Yeah, I'm a mother too. I believe we all are. So there are two aspects that I have thought of so far. Thank you for your question, first of all. So really, first aspect is I took a step back to think, what are the jobs that could be replaced by AI? Frances mentioned about this, again, I'm quoting her again, that any tasks or functions that could be codified are very easily replaced by AI. So first, we need to find out what are those jobs or functions that are easily codified, right? Could be customer service. You can take down those step by step how to handle the calls from the customers, right? Those are codified, and then also retail. I'm not saying that we don't need retail people or salespeople anymore, but those could be codified, but certain steps could be eliminated due to AI. Just give you those examples. So if, as a mother, I wanted to help my son to think, just from my perspective, what could be those codified occupants in the future, so that I could guide him in the future to not step in, or if, I'll talk about the second aspect, but those are the areas I would try my best to guide him to avoid. Again, also another research showed that 27%, I think this is from OECD, the Organization for Economic Corporations and Development. They had a research saying that as of now, 27% of the total employment are those occupants that could be easily replaced by AI, right? So we need to find out what are those 27%. And so as a mother, we can give those advice to our sons, our daughters. And then the second aspect, our kids definitely have their own passion, right? I heard the previous panelist, I think Florence, talked about her kid went to the office and said, I want to be engineer plus doctor. Why not, right? So definitely we need to have those, areas, kind of intersection for them to not only understand the back-end technology, but also deeply understand the subject matter expertise, so that, to our panelists' point, they can guide the AI as of their manager, right, versus being replaced by AI. So I really think that's also an aspect. But again, we need to build on top of our kids' passion. What is that intersection for our kids?
I think for Claire, yourself in particular, I think since you have such vast experience in the past, maybe think about what you want to do and what is your strengths, right? I do think now everybody is talking about prompt engineering. To me, you need to have the business analyst type of knowledge and skills. I'm sure you have, but there's also conversational AI, right? Conversation designers. You did graphical designer before, but now with more and more applications, more conversational, I think that could be an easier transition. There's also, coming back to work. For example, Morgan Stanley, we have back to work program. It's very competitive, but still, when you get back into it, it's actually a really good program to help you build up, right, where you want to go. I think it's there's something that go back to what I said, get your hands on it. Do some experiment. And I recently I've been at some round table and people are actually talking about nowadays the startups. You see everyone, right? Very young kids, lots of women, and people with all the different backgrounds. Because the AI kind of enabled it that we could get access to it and we can build up certain products based on our ideas. So I think you can probably try that.
So I have reserved 5 minutes for each of them to give some closing remark, but I also think that they're giving so good advice as they answer the question. So instead of closing remark, let's just take one more question so that they can get advice as their closing remark by answering that question. We serve two purposes, right? So one more question.
I'll be fast. So for AI, the food is electricity. We need electricity to run the AI. And I'm from sustainability, so I want to ask your opinion on how to develop AI responsibly so that it not contribute to the climate change and actually make our life better, literally. I'm thinking of any AI climate solutions, such as how to facilitate the carbon markets, renewable energy deployment. But the renewable energy has intermittency problem. In the night, we don't have solar, we don't have lights, so we cannot use solar panel. Maybe we should use more natural gas or coal or oil. So how can we solve this kind of problem so that we make our life better?
Yeah. I can start. Yeah, it's actually the question that our board is constantly asking us as well. So you're asking from the board perspective, right? For our fiduciary duty, we do need to be responsible for sustainability for across our customers, right? Including all the health consumers we touch on. And now, as you know, that each AI generated image can charge like 3 iPhones, right? So now it's really not going to be sustainable in this way, not to mention if we are going to train larger and larger models each year. So from our ESG point of view, we constantly are reviewing this. We know we can't control what the big technology companies are doing because we are sort of like a foundation model deployers instead of developers. But what we can do is in our procurement procedure to make sure we have that criteria spelled out for all our suppliers in our supply chain, right? To make sure that they have that carbon footprint included in our procurement criteria. So we constantly reviewing them, including Microsoft, Google's, AWS. We work with all the big technology companies, and if they want to work with us, they need to work with our ESG responsibilities responsibly. Yeah. So that's one of my thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sustainability definitely on top of Microsoft's leadership's mind as well. So that's why we partner very closely with different companies, including Morgan Stanley and Pfizer. So yeah, the goal really is, to your point, right? How can we make sure we leverage the limited set of resources, right? To do more with less and to make sure that we're sustaining our environment for next generation or even generations after generations. So definitely our goal. And I would say, even earlier we mentioned about how we can work together, like collaborate, really collaborate as global ecosystem to think about how we can build AIs, not in a way that to waste resources, to not waste human resources, to not waste energy resources, but also kind of have this platform for different people, different sectors to do different things. That's why I think Morgan Stanley is doing awesome things about like putting together this platform for different teams to leverage so that they can just benefit from it versus building their own thing. Because again, that could be like a waste of energy, a waste of capacity. And also just to conclude my talk here, I wanted to cite a question from this book called 1,000 of Brain by Jeff Hawkins. So at the end of this book, he asked everybody, every reader of this book to think about this fundamental question. What made us intelligent and self-aware? And second question is how our species get to where we are in terms of our intelligence. And the third question, last but not least, is where is our destiny for our intelligence, right? Like we are getting more and more intelligent, but really where are we getting? I believe your major is the answer. I forgot your name, but I think sustainability.
Cindy.
Cindy, yeah, Cindy, I think your major is the answer for that.
Sit down.
Yeah, you can sit down.
Thank you for reminding me.
Just enjoy the answer.
Yeah, I enjoyed the answer.
They won't give you a test, don't worry.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, sustainability, I think that's the destiny.
Yeah, Christine, anything to add? You know what? One thing
Yeah.
I really like about this panel too is you guys are supporting each other.
Yes.
Right? It's
Yes.
Like you are the
Now
same
we are one.
company.
Collaboration. That's how we
Yeah,
say.
it used to
Women
be
are the
like,
best.
Each company is like I'm better. These guys are just like helping each other and advertising each other's project. It's really
We
fun.
are, yeah, I agree.
Right?
We're AI practitioners, right? Consumers of those large language models, the big tech is producing. We're definitely relying on them to do the right thing, but we're also looking at center of enablement, right? What we're putting it out there so people don't waste the bandwidth. We're also, as a principle, we would try not to use GPUs by ourselves, right? If we can leverage the foundation model, we'll actually go with it. Yeah. But this is great. I have books to recommend too. So I think everybody talk about Fei Li. She has a new book out there, The World I See. It's really a great book. There's another one, Age of AI. It's more talking about at the philosophical level of what AI is. It's actually written by Kissinger and Eric Bauman. I think, yeah, it's Schmidt. Really, really good. There's another one, Genius Makers, right? They talked about the AI winter come to 2015, and then the Googles, the Metas, and then OpenAI. A lot of histories to it. It's a really good book. All the names you read, it's all the people we're talking about now. So.
Yeah, I don't have books to recommend, but I do want people to read 2 reports, and that's my final question I want to pose to the audience here. That one is this World Economic Forum report. They're talking about the global women's health gap. That's a $1 trillion business opportunity here as women, as the right now, in the healthcare space, a lot of data that we talked about, bias data earlier, come from the lack of data for women health, right? So it has been historically lacking funding or support. So 50%, we recently ran this report from FDA, adverse events, they observe 50% women have 50% more adverse events, including 36% more of serious and fatal events, right? So this means that when we are developing all this medicine, not to even talking about AI to start with, there is a fundamental bias and flow here. So look at that report and think about how you can help us to close that global health gap. We're going to host equity forums, and I'm going to be in Athens in August, and in San Francisco in November, and next year, Taipei 2025, we're going to have a series of events talking about these issues. And if you're interested, I can send you the report directly. And another report, just want to quickly mention, is recently there's this OECD report coming out talking about glass ceiling of women. Right now, it seems that the improvement we have is stalling already, right? So all these countries that have been trying to enforce women in workforce and increase the occupancy of women in executive level, but now we see that this is stalling. So look at the report as well, and let's all think together, what else can we do together as Asian women for
So
business?
John, you know what I will do? I will volunteer to gather all this information, send it to you, so you can publish it in your monthly newsletter. Yeah, and then people should sign up for your newsletter so they can get all this information. Sounds good, huh?
Yeah.
All right, with that said,
Thank you.
thank you for the
Thank you.
Everyone.
panel.